Okay. Alrighty, here we are. Wow. Welcome everybody to She's of Love, another episode, another week. And today is another beautiful, beautiful, beautiful episode because we have Fiona on once again. And I don't know, I always just enjoy your perspective on life and what you have to say about things. And you're just such an enriching, interesting, unique person. And I'm so excited to have you on again.
Stop it. No, it's always interesting to hear how others meet
Mm.
you in the world, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
So delighted to be here.
oh, yay. Well, today's episode is surrounded around authenticity and becoming your authentic self. And we've talked a lot about this on She's of Love. I mean, I think it's a topic that comes up every week, pretty much. Like, honestly, every
In
episode
some
it comes
form. Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form, it comes up. Um, and I think there's just so many ways to talk about this. It's such a deep, deep, deep topic. And I think, you know, becoming your authentic self can be about unbecoming a lot of the time. And
Mm.
because, we come into this world as our authentic self, and as we walk through life, kind of grab onto things and things kind of latch onto us, and we learn how to do things differently and be other ways than we're meant to be. So I'm just interested to hear your take on this, Fiona, and where you're going to take us through. So I'll give the mic to you and we'll just follow along. And I'm excited for the ride.
Right there, you've ping. It's like, yes, we're sailing on the same sea.
Yes.
And I actually, as I was thinking this morning, doing your best thinking as you do in the shower, was thinking about becoming our authentic selves. And then I kind of was like, perhaps we need to, or we could drop the becoming and just have be our authentic selves.
Mm,
Um, And the reason that jumped into my head is I mean, like you say, every week on She's of Love, and also, if I look at it threads throughout my life, authenticity has, and it's probably, not everyone has authenticity as one of their highest values. I was shocked when doing Brené's work around values. I'm like, what? Doesn't everyone have that up the top? For me, it is. But I've been doing another really big layer of the work around self this year, and working with young people whose selves are at odds with the systems that are trying to contain them. So that was why I kind of was really excited and energized to talk about this topic today. But the becoming has such a strong sense of the need for effortfulness, that we've got to do, we've got to work at it. And I've spent a lot of time working at being well in the world, living with pretty much, I've realized in the last year that pretty much I've lived with chronic illness most of my adult life. And it's like, wow. And now understanding what's been at play that's caused my mind and body to be unwell. And so I've been working so hard to be well. And now I'm going, how about if I can work a bit less hard
Mm.
mm,
being me, and find that instinctive or intuitive ways back to, like you said, Juliet, we come into the world like, man, someone should be paying you. I'm paying a therapist to tell me this stuff. I just need to go to the young people and they set me straight right up. So yeah, yeah. And I just said to Claudia and Juliet just before as we were getting set up, that the irony of stressing out about how I was going to show up today to talk about authenticity, well, it's kind of that let's not put a veneer on of we've got there. We've completely decultured ourselves from needing to fit into the boxes of, or
Mm.
squeeze ourselves. It's not boxes, it's squeezing ourselves into different shapes that are not ours to fit,
Mm.
to belong, to
Mm.
be accepted, to be loved, to, you know.
Yeah. Fiona, can I just comment on that
Yeah.
actually? Because it takes me back to being a child and when I first realized that I was going to be shape shifting to please other people. And it was a bit of a shock to me. Because it was, and one of those people who was one of the strongest voices in my life was my mother. And I realized pretty young that if I wasn't going to be shape shifting in front of her, that I was going to have a pretty tough time of it. And that was a huge wake up call to me as a child. And I remember the feeling, I remember it happening, and I remember the feeling of almost fear in a way. It was like a burden of, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to do this for a long time because she's my mum.
Do you
You
remember
know,
how old you were?
I'm thinking I have a memory actually of being about 1 or 2. I was about 1 or 2, and she was giving me a bath in the sink because I was little. And I remember that was like, so she didn't have to fill up the bath with water. I would often have a bath in the sink. And this day, I remember I was talking about something and she went, shh, really like stressed out, shh, like don't talk about that stuff.
Wow.
It was like a stressed out, like it was the energy in that action of shushing me was shocking to me because for me, I was just having a conversation. Like
Mm.
I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
being nasty. I wasn't being, naughty. I was just talking. I was just being myself. And I remember my body went like, ugh, like contraction. And it was like, oh, okay, so we can't. It was like this mental note in my head. It was like certain things we can't be honest about. That was the feeling in my body. And so then it was like, for me, raising my own children, it was a real effort to remember not to shush them like that,
Mm.
because it was a decision that I made that I didn't want my kids to ever feel that contraction and that they couldn't talk to me about things, because that was what came out of that for me was I can't talk to my mother about these things.
And isn't it incredible that you're locating that at a very, very young age?
Very young.
And these layers. And there's all the thoughts and beliefs that build that
Yes.
it's not safe to talk about things with my mum.
Yeah.
And then there's the embodied experience of holding it in your body, like
Yes.
that contraction that you can identify that is there in our bodies.
Yeah.
And you've nailed it when you're also, because I've been sort of thinking, and then there's the thread as a parent, when you become a parent, and here we are sitting with Julia, and we've the four of us talked together before with my beautiful Anya, who's
Yeah.
similar age to Juliet, that we can't help but condition our children. Like, you and I,
Mm.
Claudia, have come with a lot more awareness, or you know the choices that we really want to bring to our parenting, and
Yes.
we still are unconsciously passing on expectations of what it is to fit in this family, and we've got beautiful, robust young humans, Julia, you, Anya, who will speak it back to us.
Yeah.
And at a personal level, that's where I am right now, with Anya doing some more of her deep work and coming back with this is the trauma that I'm not quite sure exactly where it came from, and but that we've passed on to her.
Mm-hmm.
And in my worst moments, it's that shame and guilt of what I've done to her. And in my biggest self, and that's something I would love to talk about a bit today too, is that sense of true self and how we locate that. But in my biggest self, there's not that many young adults who can talk to their parents openly about the wounding that they had in their parent-child relationship,
Mm-hmm.
safe way, and have a parent who's willing to hear it and shoulder some of it and be in dialogue, with my parents. And there is a generational thing, but I never got to have those conversations. They were never safe.
Yeah.
So when he is giving stuff to me that feels heavy around choices we made when she was little, when we were still doing the best we knew how with
Yeah.
what we knew and who we were at the time. It's exciting to be on the journey together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so curious to hear from Juliet at this point, to pop in on you know.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I really value the relationship I have with mum in terms of being clear and open, and um I feel like sometimes there were even moments I look back at my teenage years and I think me and mum were a bit too close.
Yes.
You know,
Sorry about
like
that, Juliet.
that's okay. But like I would rather that than the other way, I think. Um, but yeah, I really value the relationship where, yeah, I can voice all my troubles, or um, all the things that any issues in my childhood. Um, and I think it's really helped me learn how to communicate
Mm.
to other people as well. I guess, yeah, I think being moving to the UK and throughout my travels, I've noticed just how differently I've been raised compared to most most people, especially within my family, but also just in general. And you know, when it comes to the authenticity of being yourself and being your true self, Um, it scares a lot of people, I've learned. Like, yeah, it really does, but it never scared my mum or my dad. Or if it did, yeah, if it did scare them, I never like really noticed it and it never got in the way. But, um, here in the UK, like I tell people, like, oh yeah, I wanna do this, I wanna do that, I wanna travel. And a lot of people like alone, you want to do it alone. I'm like, well, I want to do it and no one else is coming with me at this stage. So yeah, I'll do it alone. And um
And
yeah,
isn't it
it's
so interesting that even just the question with the emphasis, you want to do it alone,
yeah,
that sense of it's not okay how what I'm choosing. Like just those
Yeah.
subtle micro moments.
yes. And I get it a lot. And I find it such a privilege reflecting on my childhood and how I was raised that being alone was never a demonized thing or something that you should avoid. Because being alone is how you find yourself. At least that's what I've discovered in my own um, experience. And I'm not saying, oh, the only way to find yourself is being alone. That's not true. I've had, you learn through other people as well. You learn through friends and um, whatever you love in someone else is actually teaching you what to love in yourself. But if you're constantly surrounded by other people and reliant on another person's presence to keep you happy, then that is not an authentic choice. There's no way that you can look at yourself and be and understand who you are if you can't even spend a few moments, alone. So there's one thing, but I don't know. I also just really have noticed and seen how people um, are raised to, I don't know, always question what they want, if they're worth what they want. Like everyone's like, Juliet, you're so confident. Um, you get what you when you want something, you go off and do it. You're not afraid. It's like I, but I don't know. It's not something that, like, I don't know. It's not a compliment to me because it's just like how I was raised and just how I am, just how I can like I couldn't change it. It's not anything that I had much choice over. It's just I've I've always been once I decide to do something, I'm gonna do it kind of
Mm.
thing. And I've always I think we all come out in the world believing we're worthy of what we want, but then our parents or influences or life in general changes our mind and makes us believe that that, we have to compensate to get what we want, that we have to sacrifice to get what we want, or that we don't deserve what we want. But I think mum and dad kind of raised me to feel like I am 100% capable and worthy of getting the things that I want. And so that's kind of my gratitude. And I think that's the reason why I feel so comfortable to tell you most of the things, mum, and, like why we're so open in our relationship. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, because I think a, I don't know, for me, a parent's role in a child's life. I mean, I it's definitely my idea of that is has changed over the years. But the one constant that was always there was it's her life and I'm going to celebrate her choices as long as she's not hurting anybody else.
Mm,
And her choices are really coming from a place of, adventure and curiosity and the things that she wants in her life. I'm not going to intervene. That was the one constant. I will not intervene in Juliet's choices for herself because my father had parents who intervened in his life and swayed him from doing what his passion was, which was singing. And I saw the effects of that in his childhood and then into his adulthood. And um, I lived a life of privilege. I had almost everything that I ever wanted to have financially in my life. And my children have the advantage of that also. So there was no financial reason really for them to not pursue their dreams. And also, when a child gets to a certain age, then they can be autonomous. They can fund their own adventures and be there for themselves. And if I'm constantly interfering in that as her mother, I'm I'm chopping her legs off at the knees and crippling her in that endeavor to um fund her own life and to be, the captain of her own ship. If I allow her to go out there into the world and explore, she's going to learn how to do it pretty quick, and that's the thing about humans is that we are, we're pretty resilient. We can adapt, we can learn pretty
Mm.
quickly. And and then the other thing to that as well that I've found since Juliet's been traveling is to be there when she needs someone to talk to help decide the things that she wants to do, and to be a sounding board. And to give her, because I know her, I'm her mum, I know her, I've known her since she was a baby, to give her the reflection back to her of who she actually is and who I see her to be. So it's like reminding her, you are a strong person, you are a capable person. Because when you're in the trees, in the forest, sometimes it's easy to forget that you're strong or that you are
Mm.
capable or that you have the resources already within. And you just need a gentle reminder of that you can do it. You've got this.
You know, they talk about now one of the kind of trendy, and I mean, it's trendy and great, is emotion coaching, like, with our
Mm.
children. That's what I hear you saying,
Yeah,
Claudia.
that's all they need is just a little push and a little reminder. You got
And,
this.
just modeling authenticity and vulnerability, and I'll tear up here, but, you know, that feels, and having, dialogued and worked with you a bit, Claudia, that's such a core to your parenting. And
Yeah.
for me, it hasn't been. And I have that tendency towards protection, even though
Yes.
in my mind, I can think all of those things that you're saying, like parents' job is to do yourself out of a job,
Yeah.
you're human and autonomous being, all of those things that I've thought and believed, but actually I've passed on a good dose of the mother instinct, which is protection.
Yeah. Yep.
And and I see the consequences of that.
Yep.
My own struggles, my own mental health challenges have definitely impacted
Yep.
in some quite negative ways. And
Yeah.
also
Right.
then in, significant ways of it. I was listening to a podcast, and actually, kind of today came along with a couple of ideas and tips for, the viewers, listeners of some of my core bits that are informing. I mean, can't go past Brené Brown sitting on my bedside table, is Atlas of the Heart at the moment. But a favorite podcast at the moment is called The Neurodivergent Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's really profound. I've just lost why I leapt off onto that.
You're talking about the negative effects of the safety aspect of wanting to keep your kids safe.
Yeah. No,
And
I've lost it. I've lost my brain. And this is part of, again, like there's one part of my head now going, oh, Fiona, see, there you go, off on that. And part of embracing and my more recent delving is going, oh, you weren't meant to fit in. And my native ways are a bit countercultural of, because I'm thought streamy, and when I'm working with young
yes.
people now like this, I'm like, oh man, our racing car brains are going in all different directions at once, and it's okay. It's
Yeah, it
okay
is
to
okay. It's more than okay, Fiona, because the way your brain works is so beautiful. Because I've witnessed it myself. Like you said, we've worked together. It is the way your brain works is so beautiful and it's so needed in the world for people like me who bounce off that energy.
You just reminded me what it was. See, I knew the thread would come back.
I love that.
Right. And both connection and human intuit, like this is one of my things, is that I light up in connection with other, and I've had to
Yeah.
really learn the alone finding of my voice and self, Juliet, that you've really natively got, or grown up with. But I was listening to the Neurodivergent Woman podcast, and they were talking about the canary in the coal mine, like often neurodivergent women, but children, they're the canary showing the um the cultural problem of the patriarchal, that
Yeah.
taking us away from the beautiful being that we were meant to be. Um,
Yes.
the one that I was listening to most recently was about PDA, which is pathological demand avoidance, which is uh, it's seen as a sort of subtype of the autism spectrum. And they were saying we hate the term because the idea of something being pathologized, is that there's something wrong with it. And they were like,
Yeah.
for someone with the kind of sensitivity that most autistic brains' bodies live with, it's actually a very rational demand avoidance, because the nervous system and the difference of an autistic person is that they're wired to not fit the dominant cultural system that we're living in. And
Yes.
this is, I'm working with all these children at the moment that have found their way to me. That's the story. They are
Mm.
not fitting a system that's trying to squeeze them in, and reporting to parents about the work that I'm doing, and for them to receive from me, I'm delighted by your child's, thought stream, because today they took me off on it and we used the paper slicer as the little, each time we moved the paper slicer along a little bit, like this little human's like, today this is going to be our marker of how we're going through our session. And when we get to the end, I've never even put in a kind of, we've got to progress. He's got that sadly from a schooling system. But I'm like, so I'm reporting to the parents the delight I have in these quirky side things, and they're reporting back. It's so lovely to
Yep.
Yeah.
read how
And
you see my child,
Mm.
because what they get most of the time is either they've met a standard or they haven't of some, and
yes.
they've either complied and been convenient to that system, or they haven't. And there's
And
there's
the gift I
yeah.
see from what you're saying to the parents, this is what I'm seeing listening to you. The gift that you're giving this dynamic between the parent and the child is reminding them to celebrate the uniqueness of the brain. Because when you're
Mm,
in a school system, there's no room to celebrate uniqueness
mm,
because of the milestones that you have to hit, because of the progress. It's very linear and it's extremely one size fits all. And so if you don't fit into that system of education because your brain doesn't work that way, you feel like a failure. And your parents are watching this, you know, the parents of this child are watching this feeling of failure come over their child and change their child, the personality of that child, because, like, coming all the way back to the beginning of our conversation, they're constantly receiving messages from the people around them that they need to fit a different shape. Like when my mother told me to shush, you know, they're realizing, oh, who I am and the way my brain works doesn't fit here. And so
And
they're
that's my life,
constantly,
that's my life's experience.
yes. And
That and,
so
and
what you're,
as a woman and as a girl,
mm-hmm,
um, we were taught much more to internalize than, so no wonder there's a lot of new and, it's interesting in the authenticity conversation because in the more spiritual world, um, there's kind of the, oh no, to fit in there, I can't talk about the medical system's diagnosis or because
yeah, my
that's
God,
not authentic over there, but in the mainstream world I can't talk about the intuitive spiritual, blah, blah, blah. It's one of the things I love about the Neurodivergent Woman podcast is they talk they don't kind of it's not one or the other, but
mm.
mm-hmm,
I think it's one of the reasons why there's massive increase in diagnosis of neurodivergence in women and girls now because we're recognizing, actually differently wired brain in a girl to kind of the dominant culture looks really different. You know,
yes,
and
I
and mine is all internalized. It's all
mm,
put into my body. I would rather have the pain in my body than to have the rupture in relationship, is what I was
yes,
taught. It's better to to internalize it and hold it yourself,
mm,
to disappoint someone else, to be inconvenient to someone else.
yes. Oh
It
my,
hurts.
I I really deeply resonate with everything that you're both saying. And one thing that came to me was around the neurodivergence and the different thinking is it's so important to value that in yourself and other people when you think differently or um, when you know someone who's neurodivergent or if you're neurodivergent yourself because it is different thinking that is going to grow the world. I mean, this system of, the straight cut lines and the very strong, unbalanced masculine is breaking down. The system, the education system, it's breaking down. Yeah, it really is. It's not working anymore. The system, the governments, politicians, everything that society is built on is not working anymore. People, especially my generation, we're fed up with it. I can't even imagine the generation after. I really believe that things are going to change. And um, it's this kind of thinking and this way of being that is going to create the new path in the world. Like, I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely, Juliet.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's
Because it's
something,
not just like Claudia, you said about those who don't fit in the school system. Well, no one actually fits, right?
Yeah.
If we're in our native self, no one fits. No one fits the nine to like the current economic rationalist capitalist system. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's to be in alignment with our true self.
Yep.
It no one fits. It's just
Yep.
that for some it's an explosive not fitting, right? And
yeah.
Yep.
that's who we're working with the
I
explosive,
I
misfit. And misfit a great term.
I
Yeah.
really my big conspiracy theory is that neurotypicals or whatever label is literally just the ability to pretend you're normal. And neurodivergence just can't pretend. Because what is normal? Like, normal is this random idea that doesn't exist. Like, it's just this word that we throw around. And I really believe that everyone is um like no one is normal. It doesn't exist. You either pretend that you're normal and act like you're normal, but it's not a real it's not a real word. It has no real meaning behind it at all. At all. And yeah, it's just a really strange concept to me. And I'm not by saying that, I really want to preface, I'm not discarding any um differences that come with being neurodivergent because that has its own whole set of you know differences and managing that and your mind in a different way. So I understand that, but I really believe that um, we're all kind of just either people are better at pretending and have that ability to pretend and act like they're normal or you don't. And I don't know. I find
So
it
what you're
very,
Yeah,
saying,
I
Juliet,
mean,
sorry, just what you're saying there in relation to the authentic topic that we're talking about here is that the more we, the less authentic we are, the more normal we are. Is
yeah,
that what you're saying? It's like authenticity. You can't be normal if you're being authentic because
yeah.
normal is like this pigeonhole that we've put people in, that it's like a standard that we hold for
But I don't even
society.
understand. I don't even understand, like, the whole going, going to school, going to uni or college, getting a job, working a job, getting married, um, having kids,
Don't
and
understand
like, yeah, I don't know, and
non
just living in,
comprehendo.
yeah.
it.
I that's what I think of normal. And normal is also not speaking up, um, being complicit with
Mm.
the social society's ideas and not having kind of your own, not allowed to question these things. I mean, when I put two on the scale, being not normal is a lot more fun. It's a
Well,
lot
and it's
more fun.
interesting that you said like, and I can't wait for the evolution of the brain science and understanding, because currently it is this you're this or you're this, normal or not normal. And
Yeah.
actually, there's some really great and interesting idea. There's I heard the author of a new book called I think it's called We're All Neurodivergent, which is that idea that we're all unique. And then the the idea in the research and the kind of history stuff is that if you look at biologically, historically, there's a minority of the population that have ways of seeing the world, or their brain wiring in a way. They're the shamans, the people who feel the world in ways that the dominant culture, the kind of dominant brain type doesn't see. When that indigenous elder who is respected has a vision, this author was talking about, if they have a vision and say, I saw this, we've got to go this way, highly respected. In a corporate world, you're labeled as being psychotic. It depends on the culture. But
Yeah.
the hypothesis is that actually the reason why there are fewer brains that work in a neurodivergent way is that you need a large lot of the population to go gather the food, to do keep the tribe
Going. Yeah.
going and doing, and then you need a smaller portion of the population who are the mystics, who are so that's really helped me to kind of locate my belief, or my kind of understanding around nobody's normal. Actually, we're all and yet there are people who are have a less dominant the way that their brain works.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that authenticity is around. But I mean, again, we're culturally trying to go, are you this or this, rather than who are you, who do you be? It's not becoming our authentic self, coming back to that idea, who am I, and how do I navigate the world in alignment? That's been my big inquiry. I've got to a place of going, actually, I quite like who I be.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't know how to do it in this world. I just haven't found the way to do it in a way that works. So,
Good. Good.
sorry. Yeah.
I'm
Well, kind
happy about
of good.
that.
I mean, it's made me feel, I guess this is where the struggle for me is in being so unwell. So I
Mm,
need to find a way. And actually, and now that, those experiences where you have a new thing coming at you, and then all of a sudden all the voices are coming at you. I
yeah.
had a beautiful session with a new therapist I'm working with, and she suggested that the way to find our natural doing state is perfectly seen in the behavior of the little you,
Mm,
which is a bit countercultural, right? Because culturally we're taught that we grow up, and then, and I've done lots of work around mothering little Fiona when she gets overwhelmed, so I can come back to my adult self. And so the idea that if you want to find your true self behavior traits, look to how that little person was.
yeah.
And then that becomes the natural, that's the natural logical expression of who we are.
Yeah.
And I found that so exciting.
Mm,
And then I listened to something about anxiety, and how, like a baby cycles through all, like they express and feel without a judgment or a shutdown until they're not met.
Mm.
But but like a baby expresses all of their needs in emotion, emotion, it's all moving. And if they're met, then they don't get anxious about it because their need gets met. And it's like that's where I'm coming back to, is that the alignment of my true self or my authentic
Mm.
self with how I move in the world needs to be through attunement to the organic, to the authentic alignment with my natural traits.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really trying to work with young people in at the moment, is these young people who are being told all the time, you've got to fit in, you've got to stop doing that thing, you've got to focus, you've got to. It's like, actually, let's explore who you are, and find ways to allow you to move in the world as you.
Yeah.
Yes. Love that. And what a gift that is to the parents also, which is coming back to what I was saying before, is Fiona, that is such a gift to the child, yes, but also to the parents who can, like, by you doing that, by you celebrating their uniqueness, the way that they show up in the world, being curious about it, letting them express it, you're showing the parents in a roundabout way that that's play, that's something to be interested in, that's, be curious about it, be down in the sandpit with the child, playing with them, and looking at them with curiosity, and looking at them with wonder, and looking at their, these strange behaviors as, what is this telling me? How their brain is working? What is that telling me about who they are and this world that we live in? Because it's with that type of curiosity that we can bring to raising our children, is what will excite them in themselves. They'll get excited about themselves. They'll get excited about how they're showing up.
Look at you, you're excited too. I'm just thinking too about, when you and I started, you reached out for some support with mapping the path of you supporting Bryn with the next part of
Yes.
home learning journey. Because you're like, I don't know how to teach him all these things. And where
Yeah.
did we end up? With you and
Yes.
your stuff, and undoing some of the cultural beliefs about what you have to be as an educator to him rather than a partner, and then what was stopping, like, it's like,
Yes.
you're so right, because us focusing on our work
Mm-hmm.
allows the people around us. And I'm thinking, we're in that parent zone. But Juliet, this is what you're doing in every way that you show up, in every conversation you're having, in every, is that you're modeling just being who you are, and then
Yeah.
catching the moments and the times where you're out of alignment, where you are. And we do, as a species, as mammals, we do want to fit, we need to belong to be safe. So
Yeah.
it's not, there's nothing wrong with, you know uh, yeah, I can't see, my brain just went to, there's nothing wrong with fitting in. There is something wrong. I can't even find that
Yeah.
language. I
Yes.
can I can feel it,
Yeah.
and do it as I work with myself and young people, but I can't yet find the language of, it's okay to belong, to kind of, we've got many shades, right? Like we try and
Yes.
wear different clothing outfits to express different parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And I think
So
that that's what's
definitely.
happening now, is people like Juliet like I'll use her situation now as an example, right? She's this woman who has come into injected herself into the lives of family members who didn't see her grow up. They live on the other side of the world. She's come over into their family situation as herself, and she represents in their lives something like a curiosity because she's not going to uni. She's not
Yeah.
going to uni. Her life choices fly in the face of all of the choices that they've ever made and that their children are making now, right? And so she's this huge curiosity to them. And she's put herself in a situation where she's being constantly questioned. She's being constantly looked at and going, what? Like, you're here doing what? You're traveling by yourself? What? Like, your life doesn't make sense to us. Like, how is this? But, but in saying that, okay, they love her. They
Mm.
absolutely adore her and who she is as a person. And so she is in their lives as an example of I'm showing up as who I want to be. I'm not showing up as who the world has told me I should be because I'm not going to uni. I'm not following a carved out path. I'm not, I'm going to travel. I don't know what tomorrow brings. I don't know where I'm going to be in a year's time. I'm just going to find out, right? And so because they love her and who she is, they're going, okay, well, great. Let's see what happens with that then. But not in a way that's like, oh, let's have a look at what happens then. Like it's like they're on the journey with her and they're cheering for her because
I
they
just
love
want to
her.
say, Claudia, and just get your halo ready, Juliet, because I guess what I see of you and what I know of you and what I hear and what's reflected in everything, oh, tearing up because it's authentic, so often
Mm.
now. And I do have a lot of emotion and I do tear up. And for a long time, it was like, oh no, got to shut this down. Now
No,
it's like,
don't shut it
hey,
down.
truth. I here's the truth. But, Juliet, you I, I've never experienced you as a sledgehammer trying to beat anyone over the head with who you are and what you believe. And that's the thing, right? And sometimes I can get all terrier like and want to force people to see that, you've got it wrong. But I
You
think,
don't need
Claudia,
to.
that's why people are, you know, drawn to you, is that you're not pushing yourself and who
Yeah.
you are onto others. You are just shining your beautiful self into the world, and your,
Now I'm crying.
your edgy self and your shut down self and your self that struggles and the insecure unknown self, or the brave and brass, like every little bit, but you're not forcing others. And I think, isn't this our path? Like the
Yes.
spiritual path. Like there was a question in our I use a cyclical wisdom journal for the full moon. If you knew you were 100% supported spiritually, what would you do? And it was a bit like, wow, hang on, like really, like we were in our circle on Tuesday. I was like, what? But I
Yeah.
guess it's that, isn't this the path, is to just live it out, and
Yeah.
and soak up those who can, like you said earlier, Claudia, just be the guide, be the reminder when we get sucked
Mm,
into the dominant or we start to doubt ourselves. That's where
yes.
the revolution comes. Hey, Juliet, like you're saying,
100%.
just be
Yeah.
me. Say, I'm not living this life that you've all said I have to anymore. And this generation's,
I really, yeah. I think, well, first of all, thank you for saying that. Um, and I think the reason why I never force or, you know, try to force, you can never actually force usually most of the time. Um, well, you can, but not with words, is what I'm trying to say. But I, yeah, the reason why I never push myself too much or my beliefs on other people is because for so long, that's what was done to me by the world. And I think I'm so sick and tired of it. And I know it's not true. I know that I never have to be what anyone else wants me to be. So if that's true for me, then it must be true for other people. And I'm just sick
Yeah.
and tired of playing this game of shouting my beliefs out at other people and people shouting their beliefs at me. It's like, just chill, man. Let's just all like live on this rock we call Earth and just enjoy it and just enjoy
Mm.
this life because yeah, I just can't stand the monkey circus that is society. Like it's just such, excuse my language, but it's just such bullshit. And if there's any way in which I can, you know, put the middle finger up to the society is literally by just being myself and not giving a crap about what society thinks I should be doing. And I think by,
Yes.
hammering my beliefs onto another person says that I care too much. And I'm not saying because I've been there, I've been that person that's been in a debate with someone over a political topic, or because it's personal. It is personal. These topics are personal and they're traumatic and they are deep things. So I'm not saying I never get angry or that that I don't do those things. But I think, yeah, just as a general rule of thumb, I do my best to just not play into the game of fighting and, um, yeah, pushing and shoving and, you know, proving myself to other people because
Mm.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of doing
Yeah.
it.
And I
That's a
think,
very, like, that's the real feminine power too, isn't it?
yes,
The
yes,
the feminine power is the strong, grounded tree that, the earth, the Mother Earth that is solid and spinning, that nurtures and creates so much life and growth. You
yeah,
don't have to be a strong force that is pushing.
Yeah.
yes, yeah. And I think a lot of people miss, particularly in a world where the loudest voices get the most attention. Well, it seems that way anyway to us on the outside. But I think that it's that power that Juliet, I see in her, that power of steadfastness, that power of belief in herself, shines such a bright light without having to be in your face. It's
Mm.
like, the image that comes to mind is like she's the this, when you're in a shipwreck and you have the mirror that's like signaling to the plane that's coming over. It's like such a small little mirror, but it's so powerful because it shines so brightly. And I think that a lot of people have those mirrors in their hearts, but they don't use them because they feel like it's worthless or it's not going to work, or, nobody's going to see my bright colors. Nobody's going to
Right.
care about the things that I want to do and the things I want to say. But that's the thing. If you care about the things that you want to say and the things that you want to do and the things that you believe and the things that you love, particularly the things that you love and make you happy, if you care about those things, then that's enough, because those seeds inside you will have enough food and light to grow. And they might start out as tiny little plants, little seedlings, which brings us back to the garden that you and I talk about often, Fiona, is they will grow into beautiful flowers and tall trees, and they'll grow, and then people will see them. That doesn't matter what people see when they're in the seedling stage. It matters how you feel about them. And
And
that's so important.
this
Yeah,
is the only way to be or become our authentic self, hey, is to
exactly.
recognize that self. And you just like that. One of my other metaphors at the moment is weaving our life mat. So this is me literally weaving from conception. I've got a coin from the 70s of my dad's. I've got a old scarf of my mum. So this is my early life, and then the darkness of 1 to 2, where I can't remember but I feel the grief, and the blue is the tears of sadness. And check this out. This is Fiona teenager with my denim jacket.
I love
I've
that.
even left a button on it. And when I started, this is the start of, my a project of this year. When I started it, I had no interest in what it was going to look like. It was a process of weaving my life mat, literally weaving the threads, the story of my life. And it is so magnificent. And
It
every
So
is.
time I take
you.
it anywhere and show people, they're just like, wow, what's that? And it's just,
Love it.
yeah, but each one of those little threads is nothing, or it's, and there's stories of joy and pain and playfulness, and that makes our life. And we sit on that mat, and then we weave the next part of our life from those threads.
Mm-hmm.
But like in the words of what inspired me to do this beautiful storyteller, but remember, you are the weaver of the mat. So don't look too much to the past or too much to the future, because you are the weaver.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Exactly.
and that is the sacred, that is the spiritual in my experience of allowing the bigness of our journey,
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
of
We've
our path, of those messy threads.
I
Beautiful.
we've reached an hour and I cannot imagine a better ending than
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Like
Thank you,
honestly,
Fiona.
yeah.
I
Before we
love our
go,
conversations. I love
me
them so
too.
much. Yeah.
I love too that it's, part of my authentic self is the dynamic and allowing myself to interrupt, because I'm an
Yes.
interrupter and you're not supposed to interrupt. But it's like, no, I'm allowed to. And I love that dynamic. But I've got 2 books I wanted to recommend. This one I have just finished, Untamed by Glennon Doyle.
Love that.
Incredible story, incredible, really easy read or listen. Stop pleasing, start living. Um, Very, very awesome about authenticity. This one I read a while back, Martha Beck, The Way of Integrity, finding the path to your true self. So I'll send
Love
that
that.
through to you guys to put in the show notes, because
Yep.
and the Neurodivergent Woman podcast, I think, is great. Even though, it's about neurodivergence, but I think just that location of self in womanhood, just a couple of, I think it's really worth delving and engaging with this more, for people to learn and grow and find those voices, because we're surrounded by voices saying, mask up, hide yourself, fit in,
Yes.
be convenient to others. Um, rather than weave your own mat, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I've heard of Untamed and I've been meaning to read it. So that's my sign.
Yeah, yeah. Well, or listen, Juliet. She reads the book. Like I just listened to it on Audible. And so hearing her own, voice in it is
Yeah.
it's brilliant. Do it. It's a really
Okay.
great book.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show again. And we'd love to have you on again as well. Um, yeah, this was such a joyful conversation. Yeah.
For
Mwah.
me, just thank you for creating this community where people gather to really contemplate and delve into the stuff that connects us and the stuff that matters.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being a part of it with us. Yeah. Mwah. Thank you.
Yeah.
See you next week, everyone.
Bye.